Okay. It's not better than Starfire was. I know, but I don't even know how the sandbox allowed for a build to be this strong and do this to a raid boss.
I didn't get twitta.
I have no Witherhoard ammo. That's not good. I mean, come on. My swaps were literally horrible, and I was missing rockets left and right, and we still did like a fourth of his health bar. It was just crazy. But I can say that as of Season 21, this is the best Warlock damage build that you're going to see, and you're definitely going to want to have at least a few of these on your raid team. So I will be the first to admit that this build doesn't have the same versatility that Starfire did. Playing this build solo, you're definitely going to have to be a bit more cautious. You're not going to be able to just throw a grenade and get full HP, or panic pop a well of Radiance when you get weak. But what Strand does allow for is crowd control. So this build can be good for GM Nightfalls, for, your seasonal content, and what it also allows for is huge boss damage. So it'll be very useful in raids and dungeons. So first, let's get into the build. The exotic of choice that I'm using are the Swarmers. So destroying a Tangle spawns a Threadling, that's whatever, but your Threadlings unravel targets that they damage. So if we head over here and look at this fragment that unravels, we can see that what it does is while they're taking damage, they pop out these little projectiles similar to Wolfpack rounds, not actually Wolfpack rounds, but it's just an example, and they just seek out targets, sometimes themselves. So there aren't really many other exotics that you'd want to use, so I just use these as a bit of just extra damage. But if there's something else you want to use, these aren't really integral to the build, but they're just what I recommend. I also tend to use triple loaders for whatever my rocket is, just so I can reload faster, along with triple surges for whatever my rocket is. If you're using this not for boss damage, so in a Nightfall or seasonal content, you don't really need the loaders or the surges. They aren't, necessary if you'd rather use a scavenger or, I don't know, fastball or something because it's more fun to you. Go ahead. You're not needing the damage output. But if you're doing a raid and you want the highest damage possible, you're definitely going to want to use these. Now let's get into the subclass. So we're of course going to be using Broodweaver. They only have one super. We're going to be using a Healing Rift just for that little bit of survivability. I use Burst Glide because it's the fastest one. They only have one melee. And I use the Threadling Grenade because if you remember, the Swarmers are Threadling grenades. Our Threadlings will now unravel. The aspects, to be honest, don't really matter too much. This one is good to deal with ads while you cast your Rift because it'll spawn Threadlings in front of you. So that's a nice one to have for survivability. And then this one is you're not really going to be eating your grenade because you're going to need it for damage. But if you want to do it to, clear some ads and generate Threadlings, you're more than welcome to. And this one is pretty useless for how we're going to be using this build. So I wouldn't recommend it. So as for the fragments, the two ones that you're going to need 100%, you cannot use anything other than these if you want this build to work to its maximum function. So you're going to want Thread of Ascent. So what this does is when you throw your grenade, it reloads your weapon. It's just like having Demolitionist, but on any rocket you want, so you don't need to waste a perk on it. It's insanely good because it synergizes with Thread of Generation. So what this does is when you deal damage, you generate grenade energy. The grenade energy that this generates is similar to that of Starfire. It's absolutely insane. I don't know how they nerf Starfire and then have something like this be just as strong. It's crazy. This is what allows for insane damage output and swaps similar to Starfire. As for my weapons, I like to have Witherhoard because just like Starfire, this has a constant ticks that charge up your grenade. It's very helpful. I like to use a fusion rifle. I either use this one, the Techian Force with controlled burst, or I use the Irritive Loop with Volt Shot. This one's my current favorite because it's a rapid fire frame and Volt Shot just allows you to do more passive damage to bosses. As for my rockets, I covered in my previous video the new rockets that have come out this season, the Cold Comfort and the Apex Predator. If you're interested in which one is better or which one is more suited to you, you should check out that video. But these are the two go-to rockets of the season, and I'm going to be using the Cold Comfort as my favorite. So I've got two little DPS scenarios that I'm going to show you. The Netherrack one was horrible. It was with LFGs. There was no Well of Radiance, and I know my second super completely missed, but my first one kind of hit, but you'll still see the damage I did with the most scuffed damage phase ever.
I forgot about the 2 second thing. Bro! Don't kill him! Don't kill him! Don't kill him! We're gonna lose the checkpoint!
Oh, you fucking... Now that may be the worst damage that I've ever done in my lifetime. That was horrible. There was no well. But let's see what we cooked up with the LGs. 2.7. Okay, so more than everybody. The next person was using Caress of Falling Star, so he was using a DPS super as well. And both of mine completely missed. So yeah. So in short, is this build better than Starfire was? No, it's not better than Starfire was. Nothing will probably ever be as good and dominant as Starfire was, providing the crazy flexibility between being able to solo raid bosses and just absolutely obliterate day one contest mode. But what I can say is that this build is a close second. It's a good predecessor. It has all the aspects that the Starfire did, just tuned down a little bit. The damage isn't as good. The survivability isn't as good. The neutral game isn't as good. But it's still great. It's still, in my opinion, the best build in the game right now. Once again, Warlocks are dominant. If you guys did enjoy this build video or it helped you, please remember to drop a sub and a like and comment if there's anything I could have done differently or something you guys want me to test. Thank you.